Friendship. It's one of the most beautiful yet complex relationships we experience in life. But have you ever wondered why some friendships feel like they could last forever, while others barely scratch the surface of connection? Take a moment. Think about the people in your life. That coworker you greet every morning with a polite smile, the classmate you sit next to in lectures, occasionally cracking jokes, or even the neighbor you wave to but never really talk to. Now, ask yourself, are these truly friendships, or are they just acquaintances disguised as something deeper? Here's the truth. Most of us stop short when it comes to building meaningful connections. Why? Because it's easier. Staying at the surface is safer. It requires less vulnerability, less risk. But in doing so, we rob ourselves of something profound, a bond that can bring joy, strength, and even healing. Think about the last time you felt lonely, even when surrounded by people. That hollow feeling isn't because you're not liked or appreciated. It's because we're wired for connection. A connection so deep and authentic that it transcends the superficial exchanges we often settle for. But here's the problem. Most people don't even realize they're stuck. We confuse polite interactions with friendship and mistake casual camaraderie for a deep bond. And before we know it, years pass, and we wonder why our relationships feel hollow, why we feel unseen and misunderstood. What if I told you that there are 5 distinct stages to friendship, and the majority of us never move past the second or third? What if I told you that unlocking deeper friendships is not just possible, but transformative? Let's explore these stages together, not just to understand where you might be stuck, but to uncover what lies beyond, the kind of connection that brings true fulfillment and meaning to life. This isn't about pointing fingers or making anyone feel guilty. It's about opening a door you may not have realized was there. Because on the other side is a relationship that can transform not just your social life, but your sense of purpose, belonging, and even identity. So stay with me. By the end of this video, you'll not only know where you are in the stages of friendship, but also how to take the next step, no matter how scary or challenging it might feel. Because you deserve more than just small talk and polite smiles. You deserve friendships that feel like home. Ready to dive in? Let's begin with the very first stage. The stage where every friendship starts, but not where it has to end. Every friendship begins with a spark, but not every spark turns into a flame. Think about it. How many people have you met in passing, exchanged a few words with, and then never thought of again? This is the stage we could call acquaintance, the starting point of every connection. Picture this. You're at a cafe, and someone comments on the book you're reading. You exchange smiles, a few polite words, maybe even laugh at a shared joke. For a moment, it feels like there's potential, but then you walk away. That interaction stays where it started, on the surface. This stage is simple. It's safe. It's where most people feel comfortable because it doesn't demand much. Small talk, politeness, maybe a shared laugh or two. But here's the thing, most of these connections don't evolve, and it's not because they're not worth it. It's because we're afraid to make the first move. Why is that? Why do we hold ourselves back from taking these fleeting moments and turning them into something meaningful? For some, it's fear of rejection. What if they don't want to connect with me? For others, it's complacency. I already have enough friends. Do I really need another? And sometimes it's just a lack of awareness. We don't see the potential for something deeper. But here's what's interesting. Every close friend you've ever had was once an acquaintance. Every best friend, every confidant, every soul connection. It all started here. The problem is, we're so caught up in our routines and our insecurities that we let these opportunities slip away. Now think about your own life. How many potential friendships have you let stay in this stage? That colleague you see every day at work, the neighbor you pass in the hallway, the parent you see at your child's school pickup. What if one of them could be the friend you've been searching for? The one who truly understands you. The acquaintance stage is the most fleeting, but it's also the most pivotal. This is where you have the power to plant a seed, to decide whether this connection will grow or fade away. So, how do we take it further? The answer is simpler than you think. It's a question, a genuine compliment, an invitation. Sometimes, it's as small as asking someone about their day and really listening to the answer. But here's the catch. Most of us don't do this. We're busy, we're shy, or we tell ourselves it's not worth the effort, and that's why so many connections die before they even begin. What could happen if you took that tiny, brave step? Maybe nothing, or maybe just maybe you'd open the door to something extraordinary. The acquaintance stage is just the beginning. It's the foundation, but it's also a crossroads. Will you take the next step, or will you let the moment pass, like so many others before it? So let's say you've taken that step. You've moved beyond a polite nod or small talk. Now you're in what we call the casual friendship stage, a space that feels comfortable but not quite intimate. It's a step forward, yes, but here's the question. Is it enough? Think about your life right now. Who comes to mind when you think of your casual friends? Maybe it's the coworker you grab coffee with every now and then, or the gym buddy who always says, "See you next week," but never calls to check in when you're missing. These are the people you share laughs with, but not necessarily your struggles. This stage is where most friendships get stuck. Why? Because it's easy to stay here. It's fun, it's low pressure, and it doesn't demand much vulnerability. But here's the problem, it doesn't feed your soul. Have you ever caught yourself laughing with someone, but then feeling empty afterward? Like something's missing? That's the limitation of casual friendship. It gives you company, but not connection. And yet, this is where most of us stop. Why? Because taking it further feels risky. To go deeper, you have to let your guard down, and that's terrifying. What if they think I'm too much? What if they pull away? We ask ourselves these questions and decide it's safer to stay put. But here's the truth. Casual friendships are the friendships of convenience. They're built on shared circumstances, working in the same office, attending the same class, or living in the same neighborhood. And when those circumstances change, these friendships often fade. How many casual friends have you lost over the years? The ones you thought you'd always stay in touch with, but life got in the way? That's because casual friendships, while enjoyable, lack the roots to survive life's storms. Now imagine if you could push past this stage. What would it look like to take a casual friendship and turn it into something deeper? What if that coworker became the person you could call in the middle of the night when life fell apart? What if that gym buddy became someone who celebrated your wins and held your hand through your losses? It's possible, but it requires courage. It requires intentionality. The next time you're with a casual friend, try something new. Ask a question that goes beyond the surface. Instead of, "How was your weekend?" try, "What's been the highlight of your week?" Share a piece of your story that's a little more personal. Watch how they respond. Because here's the secret. The doorway to deeper connection is almost always unlocked. You just have to be brave enough to turn the handle. But here's the thing. Once you do, you enter a stage that's not just comfortable, but transformative. And it's in that next stage, the stage of close friendship, where the magic truly begins. Now we're getting to the heart of it. The stage where friendship begins to feel like something real. Something you can lean on. Welcome to the stage of close friendship. But let me ask you, how many of your friendships are truly close? And how many just feel familiar? Close friendships are rare. They're the people who know more than just your favorite coffee order or weekend plans. These are the friends who know your story, where you've been, what you've struggled with, and what you're dreaming about. Think about someone in your life right now who feels like a close friend. What makes them different? Is it the way they listen when you vent? The way they notice when you're not okay, even if you haven't said a word? That's what defines this stage. It's not just about spending time together, it's about being seen. But here's the hard truth. Close friendships don't happen by accident. They take time, trust, and a level of emotional investment that many of us are hesitant to give. Why? Because this is where vulnerability comes in, and vulnerability is scary. To have a close friend, you have to let them see the real you, the messy, unpolished, human version of you. And that's not easy. Have you ever caught yourself holding back, even with someone you trust? Maybe you wanted to share something personal but stopped because you thought, what if they think I'm weak? What if I'm burdening them? That hesitation keeps so many of us from reaching this stage. But here's the thing. When you open up, you're giving the other person permission to do the same. Close friendships aren't just built on vulnerability. They thrive on it. When both people are willing to share their fears, their joys, and their struggles, something incredible happens. A bond forms that feels unshakable. And yet, even here, many people stop. Why? Because maintaining a close friendship requires effort. It's not enough to open up once and hope for the best. You have to keep showing up, for the good days and the bad. You have to be willing to have uncomfortable conversations, to navigate disagreements, and to forgive when things get messy. But the reward? It's worth it. Close friends are the ones who remind you of who you are when you forget. They're the ones who celebrate your wins like they're their own and stand by you when everything falls apart. So, why do so many of us settle for less? Why do we hold back when what we crave is right in front of us? Maybe it's because we think we don't deserve it. Or maybe it's because we're afraid of losing what we already have. But here's the truth. Close friendship is the bridge to something even deeper, something even more life-changing. And if you're brave enough to cross that bridge, you'll enter a stage of friendship that's rare, powerful, and truly transformative. But it's not for everyone. Are you ready to find out what lies beyond? Now we step into a realm of friendship that few ever reach, intimate friendship. This is the kind of connection where you feel completely safe to be yourself, flaws and all. It's the friendship where masks come off and what remains is pure, unfiltered trust. But let me ask you, how many people in your life truly know the real you? Think about it. How many of your friends have seen you cry? How many know your deepest fears, your wildest dreams, or the struggles you've never dared to say out loud? And here's the bigger question. How many of those people have stayed? This stage is rare because it demands everything. Your time, your honesty, your vulnerability. It's not about convenience or circumstance. It's about choice. Intimate friendships are built by people who choose each other, over and over, even when it's hard. Let's be honest. Opening up to this level is terrifying. Maybe you've tried before and gotten burned. Maybe you've trusted someone with your heart, and they let you down. That kind of hurt can make you swear never to let anyone in again. And yet, deep down, you still crave it. You still want that one person who sees you, truly sees you, and loves you anyway. Why? Because intimate friendship is life-changing. It's the kind of connection that gives you strength when you have none, perspective when you're lost, and hope when you're drowning. Do you have someone like this in your life? Someone who knows your worst moments and doesn't flinch? Someone who challenges you to be better, but never makes you feel less? If you do, you know how rare and beautiful this stage is. And if you don't, you're not alone. Many people don't. Here's the truth. Most people never reach this stage because it's hard. It's messy. It requires forgiveness, patience, and a willingness to sit in discomfort. But it's also worth every ounce of effort. Intimate friendships are forged in vulnerability and strengthened by honesty. They're the people who stay when others walk away. The ones who hold space for your pain and celebrate your victories like they're their own. Now imagine what it would feel like to have a friend like that. Or to be a friend like that for someone else. Imagine the depth of connection, the sense of belonging, the peace that comes from knowing someone has your back, no matter what. But here's the catch. To have an intimate friend, you have to be one. You have to be willing to give what you want to receive. And that's where most of us hesitate. Because what if they don't give it back? What if we end up hurt? Yes, it's a risk, but it's a risk worth taking. Because when you find that friend, or become that friend, you unlock something extraordinary. Something most people spend their entire lives searching for but never find. And yet, even intimate friendship isn't the final stage. There's one more, a level of connection so profound that it transcends even the deepest bonds. Curious? Let's take a look. Here we are, the pinnacle of connection, unconditional friendship. This is the kind of bond that goes beyond circumstances, beyond time, and even beyond mistakes. It's the rarest, purest form of friendship, and yet, it's something most of us can only dream about. But let me ask you, what would it mean to have someone in your life who loves you, no matter what? Picture this. You've had a fight, said things you didn't mean, or made a mistake you regret deeply. In most relationships, this could be the breaking point. but not in an unconditional friendship. In this stage, forgiveness isn't an exception, it's the rule. You're not loved despite your flaws. You're loved because of who you are, flaws and all. Think about your friendships right now. How many of them could weather the worst storms of life? The kind of storms where you're not your best self, where you're struggling, failing, or even pushing people away. Unconditional friends don't walk away when things get tough. They lean in. But here's the truth. This kind of friendship is rare because it demands everything. It's not just about sharing your joys and successes. It's about sharing your pain, your failures, and your messiest, most vulnerable moments. Why don't more of us experience this? Because it's scary. To build an unconditional friendship, you have to give someone the power to hurt you, and trust that they won't. That kind of trust doesn't happen overnight. It's built, brick by brick, through years of showing up for each other. Have you ever had someone in your life who never gave up on you? Someone who stayed even when you pushed them away? Maybe it was a childhood friend, a sibling, or someone you didn't appreciate until much later in life. Think about how that felt. That's the power of unconditional friendship. But here's the flip side. Are you that kind of friend to someone else? Are you the person who stays, forgives, and loves, no matter what? Because unconditional friendship isn't about finding the perfect person. It's about choosing to be that person. This kind of friendship doesn't depend on daily contact or shared interests. It transcends physical distance and even time. You can go months without speaking, but when you reconnect, it's as if no time has passed. It's the friend who sees you at your lowest and still believes in your best. And yet, most of us don't reach this stage because we're afraid of the cost. What if we give everything and get nothing in return? What if we're betrayed? What if we're left hurt and alone? Yes, those risks are real. But here's the incredible thing. When you do find unconditional friendship, it's life-changing. It's the friend who becomes family, the bond that makes you feel anchored no matter what life throws at you. So, why don't more people pursue this? Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's a lack of role models. Or maybe we've just accepted the idea that deep, unconditional friendships are impossible in a world so focused on convenience and self-interest. But they are possible. And if you're lucky enough to have even one in your lifetime, you'll realize it's worth every risk, every effort, and every moment of vulnerability. The question is, are you ready to open yourself to that kind of connection? Because unconditional friendship isn't about waiting for someone else to show up. It's about being willing to show up first. So, you've learned about the stages of friendship, each one building on the last. But what happens when you reach the pinnacle of true connection? What happens when you form a bond that's not just deep, but life-altering? True connection isn't just about proximity, shared experiences, or long conversations. It's something deeper. It's the kind of connection that fills the spaces inside of you that you didn't even know were empty. Have you ever experienced that? Where a person makes you feel seen in a way you never thought possible. Where their presence in your life transforms you into a better version of yourself without them ever saying a word. That's the power of true friendship. It's not just about being with someone, it's about being seen by them. It's the kind of connection that shifts your perspective and transforms your soul. Think about a time when you were with a friend and it felt effortless, like you could be yourself, completely and unapologetically. They didn't judge your quirks, your mistakes, or your dreams. They just accepted you. That's what true connection does. It opens you up to your own potential, your own worth. But here's the catch. You can't experience true connection if you're holding back. If you're afraid of showing the real you, or if you're stuck in one of the earlier stages of friendship, acquaintance, casual, or even close, you'll miss it. True connection requires full transparency, a willingness to embrace both the light and the dark within you. And yet, most people never experience this level of connection because they're afraid. They're afraid of being rejected. They're afraid of being vulnerable. They're afraid of giving someone else the power to hurt them. But let me tell you this. The greatest relationships are forged in vulnerability. When you dare to share your heart without fear of judgment or betrayal, something magical happens. You open the door not just for connection with others, but with yourself. Think about the deepest friendship you've ever had. Wasn't it the person who saw you in your darkest hour and chose to walk with you through it? Isn't it the one who has been there when the world seemed to turn its back? And yes, sometimes they make mistakes, and you make mistakes. But in true connection, those mistakes don't break you. They make you stronger. So what's stopping you from reaching that level of connection? What's holding you back from going deeper? Fear? Doubt? The possibility of getting hurt? Yes, those things are real. But you know what else is real? The peace that comes from knowing you're truly understood. The joy of laughing with someone who sees all of you, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and still chooses to stand by your side. True connection isn't easy, but it's worth the risk. Because when you experience it, you don't just have a friend, you have a partner in life. Someone who shares your journey, fights your battles with you, and celebrates your victories like their own. This is the ultimate reward. This is the level of connection most people only dream about. And the truth is, it's not out of reach. It's waiting for you. All you have to do is take the leap. But here's the thing. The deeper you go in friendship, the scarier it gets. The more you open yourself up, the more vulnerable you become. And vulnerability, as beautiful as it is, comes with a price, the fear of losing it all. Have you ever had a friend who felt irreplaceable? Someone who, at one point, was your rock, your confidant, your family? Maybe you've even experienced that moment when you thought, this person will always be in my life. But then, somewhere along the way, something shifted. Maybe it was a fight, a misunderstanding, or just the quiet drift that happens when life gets in the way. That fear of losing a friend, of drifting apart, is something most of us can't avoid. The deeper you get in any relationship, the more the stakes feel like they've been raised. You don't just have a friendship, you've got a piece of your heart invested in it. It's scary, isn't it? To feel so connected to someone that the thought of losing them shakes you to your core. We all want that kind of connection, but we also know that the deeper we go, the more we stand to lose. It's the paradox of friendship. We crave intimacy, but we fear its cost. So what happens when your greatest fear comes true? What happens when that friend isn't there anymore? Maybe they move away, or maybe life simply pulls them in a different direction. Or worse, maybe the friendship ends abruptly. Unspoken words left hanging in the air. How do you process that loss? How do you navigate the grief of losing someone who was once a part of your soul? We all face it at some point. The fear that the person you've invested in will walk away. But it's not just the fear of rejection. It's the fear of emptiness. The loss of the one person who truly understood you, who truly saw you. And that's why so many people stay in the surface-level stages of friendship. They're afraid of getting too close, because deep down, they know the stakes. They know what it feels like to have someone walk out of your life. But here's the hard truth. You can't experience the depth of connection without embracing the risk of loss. You can't taste the joy of true friendship without the fear of the other side. And yet, that's what makes it all so worth it. The possibility that in the end, the love and the connection you share are stronger than any fear you could ever face. Think about it. If you never risk losing someone, you also never experience the fullness of what they bring into your life. The joy, the comfort, the laughter, the shared growth. If you stay on the surface, you miss out on what could be a life-changing bond. And so, we're faced with a choice. Do we continue to protect ourselves and stay in the shallows? Or do we dive deeper, knowing that with true connection comes the inevitable fear of loss? Maybe we'll get hurt. Maybe we'll lose a friend, or maybe the friendship will fade. But the question remains, isn't it better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all? Because the depth of the connection is worth the risk. And that's the kind of friendship that can change your life forever. Now that we've walked through the stages, let's talk about something that goes beyond any of them. The power of friendship to transform who you are. Have you ever had a friendship that literally changed the course of your life? One that didn't just make you feel better in the moment, but shaped who you became as a person. Friendship has the potential to change the very fabric of who you are. It's not just about shared memories or mutual support during tough times. It's about the deep, lasting impact a person can have on your soul. Think about it. When you surround yourself with certain people, you begin to adopt parts of who they are. Their values, their energy, their outlook on life, all of these things influence you in ways you can't even fully understand. Friendship has the power to lift you up, challenge your thinking, and encourage you to become more than you ever imagined. But it also has the power to break you down, to reveal parts of yourself you've been avoiding. Have you ever been friends with someone who pushed you to be better, even when you resisted? Someone who held up a mirror and forced you to confront your weaknesses, your fears, your limitations? Those friends don't just walk with you, they walk beside you through personal growth. They encourage you to take risks, to step outside your comfort zone, and to pursue the things that scare you. But here's the thing. Transformative friendships don't always look pretty. They aren't always easy. Sometimes they challenge us in ways that feel uncomfortable, but it's in that discomfort that we grow. It's in the friction that we find clarity and strength. And it's because of those relationships that we realize what we're truly capable of. But let me ask you, what happens when you don't have those kinds of friendships? What happens when you surround yourself with people who let you stay the same, who never challenge you to become the best version of yourself? Many of us settle for friendships that feel safe and comfortable, but never push us to evolve. We fall into routines, we stop growing, and before we know it, we've lost the spark that drives us forward. True transformation requires people who won't let us stay stagnant. It requires friendships that don't just accept us as we are, but encourage us to grow into who we're meant to be. And yet, many of us hold back. Why? Because transformation is scary. It means leaving behind the old version of ourselves and stepping into something new, something unknown. And that unknown can feel like a threat. But here's the beautiful part. It's in the uncertainty, in the willingness to step into the unknown, that we find our strength. And friendships are the most powerful catalysts for this transformation. When you have the right people around you, those who love you enough to challenge you, those who aren't afraid to tell you the truth, you begin to see yourself differently. You start to realize your potential and embrace the person you're becoming. So, what would it look like if you sought out friendships that pushed you to be your best? What would it mean if you started surrounding yourself with people who inspire you, who challenge you, and who make you believe in yourself even when you can't see it? This is the power of friendship at its core. The ability to transform, to evolve, and to grow into the person you are always meant to be. And the truth is, we all have the capacity to be that kind of friend for someone else. We can be the ones who lift each other up, who remind each other of our potential, and who walk together through the journey of becoming. Because when you experience the transformative power of friendship, you realize that the person you're meant to be is not as far away as you thought. It's in the people you surround yourself with, and it's in the friendships you choose to cultivate. And so, as we reach the final stage, the ultimate realization, we come to understand something profound. Friendship isn't just a part of life, it's life itself. The friendships we make, the bonds we form, shape who we are, how we see the world, and ultimately, how we live. Have you ever thought about how much of who you are has been shaped by the people you've met along the way? The friends who've walked with you through your highest highs and lowest lows? They are more than just people you've known. They are the architects of your journey. They hold pieces of your story that you can't rewrite. They've been there for the moments that matter most. But what happens when we stop seeing friendship for what it truly is, an ongoing, ever-evolving journey? Friendships are not static. They evolve with us as we grow, change, and move through different stages of life. The friends you have today might not look the same as the ones you had years ago, but they're just as important. Some will walk with you through every chapter of your life. Others may come in and out, each leaving their unique imprint on your heart. In many ways, friendship is one of life's greatest teachers. It shows us who we are, who we want to be, and what we can endure. And yet, too many of us treat friendship as a destination, a one-and-done kind of thing. But it's so much more than that. Friendship is an ongoing journey, a path that continues to evolve as we do. Imagine if we saw each person we meet as a potential lifelong companion, What would happen if we embraced the idea that, regardless of time, distance, or circumstances, our connections were built to last? This final stage of friendship isn't just about finding someone to spend time with. It's about finding someone who shares your journey, who walks with you through the ups and downs, and who helps you grow into the person you were always meant to be. It's about seeing the potential for lifelong connection in everyone you meet, realizing that the right friendships, no matter how fleeting they seem, can change the trajectory of your life. The question is, are we willing to invest in these kinds of friendships? Are we willing to give our time, our energy, our love to those who will walk this journey with us, hand in hand, for a lifetime? This is the ultimate gift, the ability to be the kind of friend who shows up, who stays, and who grows with you. To realize that the people you meet along the way aren't just stepping stones, they're co-authors of your life story, and that, in itself, is something truly beautiful. Because when we choose to see friendship as a lifelong journey, we unlock the most precious gift of all, the gift of truly living.